You are now listening to the Here for the Truth podcast, hosted by Joel Rafidi and Yerasimos.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Here for the Truth podcast. I'm Joel Rafidi, and I've got my co-host Yerasimos with me as always. And today, it's just us talking about the 10 commandments of being real AF. This is something that we recently put together and wanted to do a podcast on. Those that don't know, AF stands for as fuck. So
I was about to jump in there and be like, I think we could say as fuck on our podcast.
So the 10 commandments of being real as fuck is what we're discussing today. And this is all about cutting through the superficiality and coming to live in alignment with the truth, stepping into full authenticity. Right before we dive into this discussion, I want to announce that the next round of Rise Above the Herd, our 10-week psycho-spiritual program to unlock your potential and live more authentically, enrollment is now open from today until October the 15th. We're taking on 12 students only. So if you'd like to learn more and apply, you can head to riseabovetheherd.co. This is our 11th time running the program with 100 plus students having gone through it now. So if that resonates and you'd like to learn more, head to riseabovetheherd.co and submit an application, I guess, with enough time to secure your spot. All right. So commandment number 1, I shall choose the truth at all costs and have zero tolerance for the lie. Opening statements, Yerasimos.
Whoa, that's a big one. That's the one to start with. I mean, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. It's like, where are you lying to yourself? Where are you ignoring truths that are in the external world? And, like, what are you doing about that? And how's that impacting your life? I think many people want to shy away from uncomfortable things in their life because of what it would entail. And very often what that means is having to change things up in your life, maybe have a difficult conversation in your relationships, maybe, leave a job that you're not fulfilled at. There's so many ways that we kind of deceive ourselves and ignore like what's facing us. And then ultimately, how does that impact you? So it's like, have no tolerance for the bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, this is the crux of everything that we talk about. This podcast is called Here for the Truth. This is the core components of self-esteem. This is the core component of living authentically, of, living a life of alignment where we're reducing the dissonance between who we are and what we do, between our thoughts and our beliefs and our actions and our behaviors in the world. And so many of us, and myself for a long time, exerted so much useless energy and psychic bandwidth just trying to carry this misalignment, or to, carry a life that one is living that isn't really reflective of who they are, and hoarding lies and developing a habit of sharing white lies and just, going along to get along, and all these things which just siphon our energy, siphon our productive life force, and to keep us on a day-to-day basis just a lot less than we really can be. And to me, truth is life, truth is power, truth is love. And whenever someone's feeling lost, whenever you're feeling lost, it's like, okay, where have I drifted from the truth? And how can I choose more truth in this moment, in this decision, in where I'm going? So I think really embodying this commandment of having zero tolerance for the lie, that's a Michael Tsarian term, but within and without, no bullshit. Have that meter redlining on all levels. And just adopting that simply can really transform one's life pretty radically.
Yeah, I agree, man. I remember when I first heard Michael say that phrase, have zero tolerance for the lie. It's just such a hard hitter, if you're, I think, an individual that, wants to keep growing, wants to keep evolving, wants to keep moving your life forward, zero tolerance, cut that fucking shit out. Where are you bullshitting yourself? Where are you lying to your friends? Where are you lying to your family? Like what, where are you letting also people get away with behavior that's less than ideal? Now, it's not about controlling, but it's about like calling shit out and being willing to kind of dive into the discomfort that's going to be present when you disrupt the status quo, like in a relationship in your life. Like, I'll give an example here. Like, I remember I was at a gathering once when I was hosting a gathering, and there were, there was a lot of people here. There were family here as well. And someone came up to me and was like, oh, someone's daughter who was like 16 years old was like, she told me she saw people, dealing cocaine. And I'm like, wait, what? That's not happening here. So I was like, I want to get to the bottom of this. So I found out who it was supposedly was. And I just like went up to them like, hey man, this is what's going on. Like, I was told that you're doing this. And he's like, no, that's not it. Like we shared some microdose, like psilocybin pills with each other, And so it's like, how often are we faced with something in our life where it's like, oh, fuck, do I want to confront this person? He's a friend of mine. He's someone I know. Do I want to just like get to the bottom of it, as opposed to like, it's just lingering. You're making up stories in your head. And it's like, let's just nib it in the bud.
Yeah.
And just let's get to it and let's get to the truth. And then because someone didn't see things properly, it wasn't really assessing the situation ideally. It's like you get to it and like, okay, cool. I mean, it's not ideal. Please don't do that, of course, especially when there are lots of different types of people around different ages. But I think the key is it's like getting to the truth, having these conversations, think about things in your life where you see something, you observe something, whether it's in yourself, but especially within the context of your relationships. And you're like, oh, let me just push it under the rug. Let me kick the can down the road. I'll have that conversation. I'll be more truthful at another point in my life. And it's just like, now again, there's discernment and timing at play often. I'm not just saying be someone who just blurts out the truth 24/7. I mean, you have to understand and navigate the dynamics of a relationship. And, again, like I said before, the timing. But generally speaking, when you're honoring this commandment, you embody this. I'm not going to stand for bullshit. I'm not going to stand for dishonesty. I'm okay with being able to hold capacity. Again, we bring the nervous system piece in, hold capacity within myself, my body, my nervous system to have these kinds of conversations. And then for these conversations to fuel more self-understanding, which we'll get into later when we get into other commandments.
Yeah, for sure. And, this is a commandment that definitely is pervasive throughout all the commandments that we're going to go through. And there are some crossover throughout them for necessary reason. And I think particularly if you're coming from a place where you do accept half-truths and you do often find yourself sharing half-truths, this is not necessarily an easy commandment to adopt. It is going to cause you to confront certain dragons, demons, shadows, and like Yerasimos has been saying, have difficult conversations, and especially with thyself, right? And I mean, particularly when, in my personal experience, one of my major catalysts was in holding on to a lie that I thought was preserving a certain image I had for myself and kicking the can down the road way too long. And as a result, having to feel the enormous weights of coming back into alignment with the truth when I finally owned up to it. And that's something to keep in mind, is that the unconscious part of your psyche ultimately is a record keeper. And the longer that you allow the tension of lies to linger on without being cleared, ultimately the greater the blowback is going to be when you decide, okay, I'm ready to come into alignment, come clean, and come into equilibrium. And this comes along with a deeper recognition, if I'm having zero tolerance for the lie, that there is no choice in my decision-making process once I've fully embodied and adopted this commandment. So yeah, this is,
pretty straightforward, I think.
Yeah, pretty straightforward.
For the lie.
It's in there.
Let it land, let it kind of just like feed your spirit. And, can you be honest with yourself? Where are you rationalizing and justifying behavior to push the can down the road? But, we made that the first one because we think it's overarching. and it relates to so much.
Definitely. Okay. Commandment number 2. I shall understand that self-knowledge is the foundation of all knowledge.
Yeah, I think that's like an Aristotle saying or something like that. I'm not sure, Aristotle or one of those brilliant ancient Greeks.
Yeah, the ancient ones. Yeah.
Yeah. What did you say? I missed that.
The ancient ones are brilliant. Yes.
Yeah, the ancient ones. Yeah, these modern ones, that wear hats and podcasts usually, like you don't listen to anything that comes out of their mouth. But I mean, this one for me lands really deeply because I feel like it's something that has been so important to me in my whole life. The curiosity to really know yourself, to truly dive deep internally, to figure out like who are you? Like, why are you the way you are? Why do you value the things that you value? Why do you make the decisions that you make? Why do you relate the way you relate? Like, there is this universe again within yourself. And so, do you understand that on a deep level? Do you understand where your strengths are? Do you understand your challenges? Do you understand where there's really opportunities to grow? And do you take time? This is the thing that is really interesting because you need time and space to really know yourself. And I think part of the way this kind of system has been set up, from a social engineering standpoint, is to continually fill up your life and your schedule and your calendar and all these distractions at play. And then you throw inflation in there and you got to work extra long hours. It's like, how do you create time in your life to reflect and to engage in a process of self-inquiry? Because without that, it's kind of tough. You're kind of just being swept away with the current. And I got to speak from a personal experience. I was very fortunate and blessed that at multiple points in my life, I made a decision to go, okay, this thing, I need space, I need time. Okay, I saved up some money. Sure, I could go put it into a car or into a house. I was like, no, I'm taking the time. I want to be alone. I want to travel. I want to backpack. I want to read books and self-reflect because this thing, being a human being, what does it mean? And so I really think when you get to that point, you honor this commandment of that self-knowledge is the foundation of all knowledge. It's knowing yourself. What else is there beyond that? If that's not the foundation.
Yeah.
So
I mean, how do you navigate if you are not engaging in a practice of self-reflection and self-awareness? And the reality is that the shape and the texture of all our psyches, all our consciousnesses are unique. So simply going out into the world and assuming that everyone has a one-size-fits-all consciousness or psyche or soul or spirit or way of being is a complete misnomer and is a recipe for you to end up, living a sad, unhappy life within the confines of the herd and of the crowd. And, every single decision that you make in your life that involves, any other external entity, be it another person, be it whatever it might be, you are receiving data and feedback about yourself. And being able to take that data and take that feedback and integrate it into your self-knowledge, this is the game of life. And through adopting this commandment, you are only ever winning or you're learning. There is no failure if your mentality is to whatever happened, whatever the result is, I can only get better from here because I'm utilizing the information that I'm getting. And so you enter this constant upward spiral trajectory shift of being able to become masterful, of being able to navigate life with true captainship, right? And I simply, it's hard for me to imagine life any other way. And I think it's also difficult to have this conversation without touching on the subject of different systems of knowledge, esoteric systems, such as astrology, such as human design, tarot, numerology, whatever it might be, the list, gene keys, the list can go on forever. And in my personal experience, exploring with these systems is an experiment because you go and you get a reading or you enter your birth information and you learn some information, you get some feedback about yourself. And rather than taking in first instance, oh, I guess this is the almighty truth, right? Okay, Let me use my reason to and practice this in real life to really see what this means about myself. And in my personal experience, going through these systems and getting this feedback about myself has made my decision-making process in my life so much better. It's led me towards vocation. It's led me towards a life of purpose. It's led me towards healthier relationships because I understand that, I might need a little bit more time and space to respond to a situation because of the nature of myself, which is different from the nature of other people, so on and so on.
Yeah, well said, man. I love that. I love that you brought up obviously human design and astrology. You know how I feel about that. I mean, these tools have absolutely transformed my life. But I mean, just from a general thing, as you were talking, it just made me think of the Carl Jung quote. The world will ask you who you are, and if you don't know, the world will tell you.
Yeah.
And so again, like if you're not utilizing these systems, if you're not putting time and energy into really getting to know yourself and seeing where you've been conditioned by friends, by family, via culture, and go, wait, those values, they're not my values. Those beliefs that have been pushed on me, they're not mine. Like, I don't want to be an accountant. I don't want to be a doctor. I don't want to be, insert, anything.
Yeah.
You tune into your spirit and you're like, this is what's driving me. This is what excites me. This is what I'm interested in. I don't want to do that. And then again, then it takes a level of self-esteem to be able to go, I'm going to follow these innate desires, and move closer towards stepping into that person that I believe myself to be. And
Yep.
so,
And I mean, even from a greater metaphysical perspective, why did you, if you believe this path of thinking, why did you choose to incarnate? Why did you choose to exist? Why did you choose to enter this experience? Right? Becoming who you were born to be is something that we reference often on this podcast. And I'm not interested in becoming somebody else. I'm interested in becoming me. And there's this concept which also comes from Aristotle called entelechy. And basically, it's this idea that within each and every single human being, there is a blueprint that wants to unfold. And you can think about the metaphor of an acorn and an oak tree. The blueprint of the oak tree is already present within the acorn. And it's about that acorn growing and flourishing and sprouting into that magnificent oak. And it is no different for you. You have a unique blueprint that wants to be born. But are you setting conditions which limits the organic evolution of that blueprint? Or are you setting conditions that fosters and nurtures its growth? And this is where that first principle, that first commandment becomes really necessary in having zero tolerance for the lie. Okay, let's get on to commandment number 3. We're blasting through these, obviously. With all these commandments, we go much deeper inside Rise Above the Herd, our 10-week program. And we're going to keep going with number 3 for this podcast. I shall recognize that without value for my life, no other values are possible.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think this piggybacks even to what I said before about knowing your value, but also realizing that you have intrinsic worth. You have an inherent worth. Like, you exist. It is a reality, And so, like, how do you feel about that? Like, are you willing to like stand for the things you believe in and the things that you value because you have worth? Do you respect yourself? How do you treat yourself? How do you treat your body? How do you treat your mind? Like, I think it's so interesting too that like when you think about, someone brought this up once, like, when they talk about bad habits and drinking or taking drugs or whatever, like, would you tell a 4-year-old to like do the things that you're doing? So why are you doing it to yourself? Where is that lack of self-love and that self-worth coming from?
Yeah. And this is a commandment that definitely is heavily influenced by the work of Ayn Rand and by her philosophy, objectivism, in which basically she posits that the number one value of every single living organism, is its own life. And without that as the number one value, how can any other values be possible? And she's obviously not wrong, right? Um, the flower naturally faces the sun without second guessing itself. Its roots naturally dig deeper into fertile soil. All these things happen automatically within other species, except for us human beings, we have volitional consciousness. So actually choosing, we're the only species that has the choice to value our life. No other organism second guesses this whatsoever. But we've been so heavily programmed with these anti-life ideologies, which come in many different forms, primarily under this umbrella of collectivism, which is something that we've often spoken about as well, which create like little guilt traps within our own system where we like have this self-punishment when it comes to valuing one's own life, when it comes to acting rationally in one's self-interest, when it comes to, oh, wow, I actually have this natural intrinsic desire. But, then there's this thing where it's like, bzz, like, well, pursuing that might be dangerous. It might put you in a position of unsafety within your family or within the crowd or within the friendship circle. That religious doctrine that I read told me that it's evil to, to consider myself, and I need to be quote unquote humble at all times, and having desires is the devil's work. That spiritual book that I read there told me that I should become nobody and I should become nothing and I should become meaningless. And that's the highest morality for my existence. Well, here you go. Here's another 50 lashes, right? But nature tells us otherwise. Nature tells us that in order for you to have any values, you have to value your existence. And, that's why this is a commandment that belongs here at number 3. When it comes to being a real AF, it requires a deep understanding and embodiment of this reality.
Well, nothing more to say after that. So we're going to move on to commandment 4. I shall take full responsibility for my life, for no one is coming to save me.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's pretty self-evident. Like, where are you deflecting personal responsibility? Where are you waiting for like mommy or daddy to come and fix everything for you? Are you continually in a victim's mindset? Now, this isn't to say that you can't be a victim or be victimized. I mean, that's a reality in life that happens. But how long are you continuing to blame others and blame circumstances? As opposed to going, hey, listen, some fucked up shit may have happened in my life. But at the end of the day, this is my life. Again, going back to the previous commandment, I exist. I have inherent value. What am I doing to make changes in my life? And so I just think that's a big piece of the puzzle, is to see, where are you still in a victim mindset, and where are you looking for other people to answer questions for you in life? Easy questions. I mean, how often do you see on social media, or, even in just your normal life, someone sends you a message or sends you a text, and you're like, if you literally just put that in a search engine, you would get all these answers. And it's like, no, answer it for me. Answer it for me. I don't have the time or the energy to go and figure something out for myself.
Yeah. I mean, you are the creator of your life. If you're listening to this podcast, you're most likely an adult. So cut out the excuses, cut out the blaming. The life that you're experiencing today is a result of the culmination of decisions that you have made. And your life in the future from this point is going to be a culmination of the decisions that you have made. And it's up to you what kind of decisions you want to make. Are you going to make decisions that align with your authenticity? Are you going to make rational decisions that lead to the support of your existence? Like we've mentioned previously, no one is responsible for you. No one is responsible for your happiness. No one is responsible for the achievements of your values except for you. This mindset of hoping, waiting, wishing, it is great for children. It is not suitable for adults, simply put. So this really requires you to question deeply, where is this fairy tale still present? in the way that I engage and interact with life, and observe that and fix that.
Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately too, again, man, well said, like personal responsibility, taking full responsibility. And when you do that, I think you have a little bit more power to shift things in your life.
Yeah, that's what this speaks to. And I mean, this message that we're trying to get across, and this message that our students receive in our programs, is that you are so much more powerful than you give yourself credit for. And so unlock that power by adopting these principles, by embodying these commandments, because you can determine your destiny. You can shape your future. With every single decision that you make, you are sending a ripple out into eternity about what kind of life that you want to live. And you're the one making those decisions. You're responsible.
Yeah.
And that's why this commandment is here.
Yeah. And I want to add one thing too, because I think very often when we talk about things like that, like we're not saying that you can't have support, that you can't reach out to other people. But again, do you know this? Do you know this about yourself? There are times where maybe you do need support, that you need someone to be there for you, to listen to you, maybe like cry or weep. Like this isn't about like being this person who doesn't experience any emotions and is like, oh, I got to figure this out on myself and be a lone wolf. But it's a general idea of like, where in your life are you relinquishing self-responsibility where you could be taking it on yourself, owning your inner world, being responsible for the reactions that you have as well, because that's another big piece of the puzzle is, there's people in our lives, like we can't control everyone, but like to some capacity, you can choose how you respond to situations in your life. So,
Yeah.
be mindful of that as well. Like, how are you responding to events in your life?
And if you are receiving support, if you are receiving handouts, I've received handouts, right? What is the nature of the energy around it? Do you feel entitled to it? Is it expected? If there's entitlement, if there's expectation, that's where things need to be checked. I'm not saying that we all need to be lone ships on an island, right? Community and support is important. But what is the nature of the energy in which it is being received, and is appropriate value being returned? Commandment number 5. These commandments keep building on each other. I shall not act out of guilt or obligation. Now, this is a commandment that, speaks into some of the things that we've spoken about. Like it requires you to value yourself, right? It requires you to live authentically, to adopt this. Like you're not making decisions from a place of truth if you're acting out of guilt and obligation. You're not properly honoring and respecting yourself if you're acting out of guilt and obligation.
I think many of us have heard the phrase like the people pleaser,
Yep.
That part of us that is like gets its value by just, taking care of everyone else's needs, being super attentive, doing things very often from a place of obligation and guilt. Now, again, we're not saying that there aren't some good qualities about being attentive and being mindful of others and being supportive, but are you giving from an empty cup or are you giving from a full cup? Do you value yourself, like Joel said before, we've been saying, where you can go, hey, listen, I have this overflow. Like I've been self-nurturing, I've been self-caring, I've been taking care of myself, and cool. I can act or give from a healthier place. Because usually what happens is when we're giving from a place of guilt, if we're acting from guilt, acting from obligation, what does it usually lead to? I mean, think about your relationships. Think about the resentment that comes up because, I do all this for everybody. I've done that before, I think in my past, and I know probably parents do that. It's like everything I do for you, and this is how you treat me. It's like because you're just like robbing yourself, or you're giving from an empty cup, and you're doing all these things for everyone else. It's like you expect something automatically in return. It's like, well, no, honor yourself, take care of yourself. You don't owe anything to me. But a lot of people feel that way, and they get into these like icky relationship dynamics and these codependent behaviors where this behavior is just happening back and forth. And then that's what's considered love.
Yeah, it's incredibly toxic, and it's super normalized, and it is heavily influenced again by deeper cultural and societal programming, such as religion and such as New Age spirituality and other doctrines and dogmas that are out there and exist. And the reality is that real love, care, and generosity, they don't come from a place of sacrifice. Okay, they come from a place of wholeness, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But we've all been conditioned to believe that this word sacrifice is somehow connected to this other word, morality, when they are not. They simply cannot coexist by any means whatsoever. Real love, real care is a selfish act. It is not a sacrificial act. I don't go out and support my family, my wife, my kids, travel, put a roof over our heads, go to nice meals. I don't go and, have awesome friends, right? Because it's a sacrificial act. I do these things because it's in my genuine self-interest, right? I love and I care for my family. And it's not me cutting out pieces of myself and giving it to them. It's me filling my own cup by giving to them. It's what I want to do. It's a desire of mine. And we create these toxic ties and burdens when we operate our relationships under this program of sacrifice. And out of this program of the more that I diminish myself for you, the more I'm going to receive from the diminishment of you.
Yeah.
And we've all experienced this.
Yeah. And again, I used to be a huge people pleaser, where it was like, I totally was like, I went out of my way to do things for other people, even though, I didn't want to, because I didn't want to disappoint other people. And this is a big thing I say often is that, and sometimes you have to be willing to disappoint people. Again, this relates to, the first commandment of setting a boundary, saying no, choosing yourself, not doing the things that other people want you to do, and then having to navigate that and deal with that. Can you say no without guilt when something isn't in alignment with who you are? Are the relationships in your life nourishing? Do they empower you or do they drain you?
Yeah. And
these are the questions you have to ask yourself.
The reality is that if you start living by these commandments, none of them are really going to be well received by most people because most people are living a lie. And that's what keeps the herd in place, right? Is because the moment I start being realer, being more authentic, living with more truth, I rattle the cage of the status quo. And this is why most people don't walk a path of authenticity and truth, because the masses, for whatever reason, whether it's programming, conditioning, whether it's just human nature, they have adopted untruth as a primary principle in their lives. And
I mean, think about it in the family, when someone goes against the status quo of the family, very often they're looked down upon. Oh, they didn't take over the family business. Oh, they left to go away to college. Oh, whatever. They're creating their own path. Very often it's like, well, the underlying subtext sometimes that is like, well, who the fuck do you think you are?
Exactly.
You can go and rise above the status quo of this family and maybe look down upon our values and the way we live life. Now, again, I'm not saying this always happens, but we see that. I mean, the black sheep.
It comes with emotional manipulation. It comes with emotional gaslighting, and sometimes physical force it comes with. But maintaining lies is dependent on that. The truth doesn't need it. It's not necessary, right? When it comes to adopting the truth.
There are a lot of people in my life when I think about, my past and conversations that I had, 17 years old, 18 years old, 19 years old, where parents bribed their kids. First of all, they're saying, no, you're not going away to school. This is where you're going to go to school, and bribe their kids with money or a new car or something to honor their wishes. So again, it's you're making a decision from a place of obligation.
Yeah.
I don't really want to do this, but because XYZ, this is why I'm doing it.
And I mean, there's a whole deeper psychological aspect to this. We all have a super ego. We all have the voices of mum and dad in our heads. And this is, again, something that we have to grapple with. And again, something that we go deeper into for our Rise Above the Herd cohorts. Okay. Commandment number 6. I shall take up necessary space. And again, this stuff interlaps. But this is unique on its own. Like, this is about owning your right to fully exist as you are, to be seen, to be heard, to have your presence felt, to be worthy of leaving a mark, of pursuing your values, your interests, your desires, of embracing one's existence, of feeling worthy to appropriately express one's thoughts and feelings without the fear of judgment, refusing to shrink.
Refusing to shrink, man. You said it all. Can you kind of breathe into yourself? Can you feel yourself getting bigger and bigger and bigger? Where are the ways you shy from that?
Yeah.
When don't you speak your mind? When don't you express yourself? Like, where are you not self-assertive in your life? Where are you not owning yourself and owning your life and standing up for yourself and saying, no, you will not speak to me this way.
Yeah.
No, you will not treat me this way.
Yeah, exactly. And be specific about with who, under what circumstances, because they are major insights for you as well.
Yeah.
This ties in directly to one of the pillars of self-esteem, self-assertiveness, right?
Yeah, I feel like this commandment is really important for people that, have been traumatized, conditioned to play small. We're scolded very often for just even like sharing their thoughts and opinions as a kid, that we're overly controlled, and their kind of voice has been locked up. And very often, even you just look at their posture too, they might have like their shoulders sunken in and their chest collapsed a little bit.
Their breath is shallow.
And it's like, again, even just from that physical understanding, like what happens when you're able to, through work that's necessary, postural work, other types of healing work, to expand, open up your heart. Again, take more space in. I mean, just look at that visually. Less space, more space. So again, if you're going through your own personal development process, like, be mindful and see, where are the areas of your life where you can take up space? Where are you playing small? Where are you not honoring that inner voice within you?
Yeah. Where are you not valuing your life and potential, and where are your actions out of alignment with that quote unquote value? If it is there, this is about refusing to play small. Again, this is about realizing that I'm here for a deeper purpose, and it would be blasphemous for me to not pursue that in its full capacity.
All right,
You deserve to be here. That's it.
Yeah. Next commandment, number 7, I shall seek wholeness, not perfection. I know you touched upon that before. But again, when you think about perfection, like this unattainable ideal, like what is perfection? Like, if you're listening to this, like ask yourself that, like, if you were to be perfect, what does that even mean? I mean, we're human beings. We have many different aspects to us, many different parts to us. Like sometimes we're on point. Sometimes things can get a little messy. How do you relate to those parts of you? How do you relate to yourself? Do you honor yourself? Do you accept yourself? Do you have compassion for yourself? Ultimately, like fucking being real as fuck is really about acknowledging all of yourself, the strengths, the areas for growth, your challenges in life.
Mm-hmm. And perfect in whose eyes? Right? Whose model of perfection am I trying to live up to? And this isn't about slacking off. We are not saying don't pursue self-mastery, don't pursue greatness, it's great to pursue perfection in certain arenas for sure. But in terms of developing an engulfing inner critic, which doesn't allow for realness, this is when this becomes an issue. right? So letting go of the need to meet unrealistic standards. And this again, this conditioning and this programming, which we've all been subjected to, is so insidious in terms of how overt it is as well, right? But like, again, think about religion, right? Think about all the perfectionist programming that's handed through to us through these different doctrines and dogmas, even spirituality, right? You see New Age people adopt the affectation in their voices and start dressing a certain way and start questioning you when you say good morning, right? Or when maybe you say fuck off, right? Ooh, that is not very spiritual of you, brother. Okay. And these people are disconnected. They're not embodied. They're not living truthfully, right? They're again living, they're living through conditioned ideals, which are not natural.
Yeah, I mean, we are such complex human beings. There are so many different elements to what makes us up. And like part of this journey of self-development, of growth, of self-knowledge is understanding that, is moving towards embracing the different parts of you, the different aspects of self, getting to know them, like, being able to look at certain parts and go, oh yeah, I understand that's a part of me. And I'm not saying you have to act from that or behave from these places all the time. Again, we want to be moving forward. We want to keep evolving. We want to keep growing more into like an honorable, respectful person. And we still know, we're not lying to ourselves. Again, going back to the number one commandment.
Yeah.
Like we're not bullshitting ourselves to be like, oh, I'm perfect. I'm such a good person. All these other people are the ones that are bad and evil. And I'm just going to project onto them. You're just fucking real. You're like, yeah, cool. I do some amazing stuff in my life. And sometimes I could be a dick. Sometimes I could be an asshole. Sometimes I'm disrespectful. And sometimes, maybe I do tell a lie, and it's like, oh, fuck, just check yourself and understanding that like there's so much nuance within yourself and being a human being. And how do you accept that? And like not move again, what you said, Joel, like who is the person that's saying what is perfect or not? A lot of times we have the voices of mom and dad that have conditioned us, that have criticized us. Like we have to behave in this way or else.
Yeah. Yeah. Erich Newman, one of the, I guess he came from the Jungian school. He wrote a great book called Depth Psychology and a New Ethic. And basically, according to the Jungians, the entire existence of the shadow comes from us trying to achieve perfect ideals, right? And so you see these people who on a surface level, might seem so perfectly well put together and, following the rules and super rigid and having the perfect manicured lawns and the perfect whatever it might be. Very often they have the darkest shadow to deal with. Very often there is the most repression occurring within these types of individuals and these types of psyches. And that is just festering and bubbling under the surface. So again, like shadow work cannot be a real possibility unless you're willing to embrace wholeness. You cannot really stare into the abyss and come to embrace one's darkness if you're seeking perfection. So seeking wholeness is about learning to put 2 feet on the ground, recognizing that you are composed of both dark and light, and, being okay with that, being okay with being a whole human being.
All right. Moving on to commandment number 8. I shall live to experience joy, not to avoid pain. And I think this is something that, we can look at within ourselves, that we can observe in others. Like how often are our decisions and our behavior based on avoiding discomfort as opposed to actively seeking out joy and fulfillment? Are you going towards the joy? Are you going towards the things that light you up, that are exciting, like even if they might be, a little scary, even though they might be uncertain, you don't know where the path is going to take you. How many of us in our lives, and I could speak for myself, do we just remain in the status quo? Do we just keep doing the things that we're doing because, if I leave this job, I don't know, there's a lot of uncertainty. If I end this relationship, what does that mean? We just don't want to deal with the reality of who we are, going back to the previous commandment, the emotions, the aspects of ourselves, the parts of us that are going to come forward when we change things up, when we make a different decision, when we go against that internal status quo or the external status quo.
Mhm. I love this commandment because to me, it speaks directly into this whole conversation of scarcity consciousness versus abundance consciousness, right? And it's the scarcity consciousness that withdraws from life, that doesn't seek joy as a priority, but seeks safety as a priority, seeks numbing out, seeks not willing to experience the reality of pain, discomfort, and uncertainty. Whereas it's the abundance consciousness that sees, oh, that lights me up. Oh, that excites me. Oh, that might be interesting to pursue. Oh, what if I made that investment? Oh, what if I moved to that country, that city, whatever it might be? What if I told that person how I really feel about them, right? In terms of whether it's a romantic pursuit. Abundance moves towards joy. It is free flowing. It is open. It is a giving and receiving. It recognizes that there is this inherent support available to the human being when it moves towards joy, that God walks alongside you when you make decisions from this place of truth, joy, and deeper fulfillment. So like really checking yourself, right? When those voices of scarcity comes in, and they can come in many forms. Like it can come from in a financial arena. Oh, like, oh, I can't afford that. Oh, that's so expensive. Oh, how can he or she be charging that much? Or it can come, in a more philosophical way where it's like, I'm not capable of that. Who am I to be successful in that arena? Who am I to pursue that creative career? Right? These things are all tied together. So yeah, this is about embracing what life has to offer, leaning in to what really excites you and what really lights you up.
Yeah, I don't really have much to add to that. So let's move on to the next one.
Seek beauty, right? Seek beauty.
Yeah. Well, I do have something to add. You said seek beauty, and it's like, how many of us have the thought, oh, I want to go see that place. Oh, I want to visit that place. I want to take that trip. I want to take that class. I want to have I want to learn how to cook. I want to learn how to play an instrument. But then again, the voices come in, oh, you don't have enough time. You don't have enough money. What are you going to do? Blah, 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 blah. And it's like, man, take the leap, make the choice, and adjust as you go.
Yeah.
Again, these have to be realistic and rational to some degree, I'm not saying go buy a $1 million car when you're $100,000 in debt. It's just about being wise and having some discernment. But from a general standpoint, again, this relates to self-knowledge. What lights you up? What excites you? What do you want to experience more of in life that can bring you closer towards living a life filled with joy and happiness and fulfillment, as opposed to the opposite?
Yeah.
So, next commandments.
Commandment number 9. I shall honor the unique purpose and the reason for my existence. Now, I think we've tapped on this in various ways throughout some of the previous commandments, but just to hit it directly on the nose, you're here for a fucking reason, right? You're here for a unique fucking reason that no one else that's existed has been here for. No one else that will exist in the future, right, is here. This is your unique game of life to play. And so are you playing it correctly? Are you playing it according to your unique nature? Or are you playing someone else's game?
Play your cards right.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, you're a miracle. I'm a miracle. Everyone listening to this is a miracle. What an amazing gift to be alive. Really, again, it relates to the previous commandment. Look around you. Look around you right now. Every single thing that you can lay your eyes on has a purpose. Okay, I got a mug here. I got a phone. I got some wires. I got a remote control. I got a bag here. I got a phone. Everything's got a purpose. So to think that the creation of yourself, of you being created, you being a human being, that it would be just random and that you wouldn't have a purpose, that's inherent things within yourself that are guiding you, hopefully guiding you towards gifts to bring forth into the world, like that's part of being a human being, is like figuring out who you are, figuring out where your gifts are, and giving them to the world and experiencing joy. Again, a lot of these commandments overlap with one another. And again, it's I want to reiterate this unique purpose thing. It's not like I must find my career and that must be it for the rest of my life. Like, no, it's just things may shift over time. But what is that guiding principle within yourself? Where you go, listen, I have unique talents and abilities and things that I'm drawn to. And do you follow that?
Yeah. It's about knowing that your life has meaning, right? Or the will to meaning, as Viktor Frankl might put it. Okay. Like, live your life as if you're a Lord of the Rings character, right? As if there's this unique mission where the mission would completely crumble if you didn't do your part, if you didn't do your thing. And like, we're all being called in that way to play that out. And this is going to tie into the next commandments. But like, reflect on the meaning of your existence and seek the meaning in your everyday life, in the mundane. Do you even offer yourself the chance to be in awe of reality, of life, of nature, of the sun, of the trees, of the animals, right? And I think the more that we can cultivate these spaces to fill our beings with awe, the richer and the more tangible that personal meaning becomes in one's life. So being real AF, right? It necessitates you to honor your unique purpose and the unique reason for your existence.
The other thing too I want to highlight around this commandment is that where are you getting stuck into the compare and contrast game?
Yeah.
Where are you projecting onto others that they haven't figured out, and now, oh well, I want to do what that person does, And is it really yours? Does it really align truthfully with who you believe yourself to be? Are you feeling the pressure? And again, it's not about not receiving inspiration and guidance from other people in your life, but where are you discounting yourself? Where are you not listening to yourself? Like, do you really want that thing? Do you really want to go after that career path? Or you just think it's like the cool thing to do because other people are doing it, because that person on social media looks a certain way and I want to be that person, as opposed to like, no, fuck that shit. I'm me. The reality is no one can be me. No one has ever been me. No one will ever be me. And how I go about my life and how I do things is going to be 100% unique. Sure, you can share things with other people, qualities, values, but my unique expression is my own. And this goes for every single person that is listening to this or watching it.
Yeah. And to close this out, this really ties in, leads us into the final commandment, which is, I shall refuse to ignore the call that beckons me. And for every single human being, there have been times in your life where there has been such a distinct call, right? There's this internal phone that's ringing, that's calling you to something greater, that's calling you to embrace uncertainty, step out of your comfort zone. And the difference between this commandment and the previous commandment is that this one connotates the principle of action. It's one thing to know you have unique purpose and meaning. It's another thing to act upon it. And so being real AF is refusing to let the phone ring out. It is refusing to ignore that call to depth, to meaning, to mystery, to fulfillment, to adventure, to excitement. Joseph Campbell's hero's journey. This is a mythology which permeates and underlies the collective psyche, the collective unconscious, right? We all are on this path. But are we off the road? Are we off the beaten track? Have we like taken our things, folded our arms, and we're sitting grumpily under the tree, right? Or are we choosing to answer the call, walk the path, meet the dragons, meet the princesses, meet the whatever it might be along the way.
I don't want to sit here and say I have it all figured out, because I definitely don't have it all figured out. But it's really interesting when I think about over the last like 20 years that I think I've been on this like more alternative journey. The amount of time where certain things have occurred in my life and people go, "You're so lucky. Oh, you're so lucky." And it's like, you know how many choices I made to disrupt whatever my status quo was at the time, whether it was to leave a career path and to like go off and pack a suitcase full of books and travel, to leave a relationship, to travel again, to use all my savings towards this experience or that experience, and not taking the safe route, or the route that would be more accepted by, let's say, mainstream society. And it's like, it's been hard at times. I've had to deal with multiple dark nights of the soul because I've made certain decisions in my life that just like I had to honor that inner call. But like for so often, it's like we look outside and we see these people, oh, well, they're lucky. And it's like, you don't know how many times they answered that call,
Mhm.
and then the challenge that they had to face and overcome to get to where they are. And this is a lifelong journey. Like, I'm very grateful and feel blessed to be where I am and to be here with my brother Joel, to be having these conversations. But we wouldn't be here, neither one of us, if that phone was ringing over and over again inside of us and we just ignored it. There's something in you that knows. Before you go to sleep at night and you're by yourself in the darkness, and that voice is speaking to you to tell you what to do next. Oh, maybe this thing isn't working out. Maybe you should try this. What do you
Yeah.
do?
Yeah. Are you paying attention to your dreams, right? Do you value your dreams? We may think there is a safe road, says Carl Jung, but that would be the road of death. Then nothing happens any longer at any rate, not the right things. Anyone who takes the safe road is as good as dead. And there's the common analogy today is, the NPCs, the non-player characters. Okay. These people who have basically taken the safe road, chosen the life of conformity. Now, I think this term gets thrown out way too easily, actually, with little self-reflection, because I look around and I can see many people using these terms, thinking they're quote unquote, part of the truth community, sharing the truth on social media, sharing conspiracies, bringing down the man, bringing down the system. Yeah. Yeah, you haven't fucking gotten off your couch. You haven't made a real decision to move your own life forward with purpose, with meaning. You're still sitting there, right? Disgruntled, unhappy, consumed with bullshit.
Yeah, resting on your self-righteousness.
Yeah. That's NPC AF, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, yeah, 10 commandments. I mean, just to close this one off, being real AF is not waiting for life to hand you permission, right? You're acting on what's pulling you forward, regardless of whether it's uncomfortable, regardless of what comes off. And so, yeah.
Well, and I just want to remind you too, is like, take these with you.
Yeah.
Reflect on them, write them down if you're listening to this. We also have an ebook, the 10 Commandments of Being Real AF, that go into this in a little bit more detail. So you can get that. I think in order to get that, you have to take the Real AF quiz.
Yeah. So we created the Real AF test, which will also have the link in the brief. If you want, it's discover.hereforthetruth.com/real AF. And basically, this is a quiz or a test for self-reflection to see in your own life where you're being real AF, where you're living authentically, and where you're avoiding it. And so if you're down, you can complete that quiz. And on the other side of that, we'll give you our 10 commandments of being a real AF ebook. But I just want to say, these commandments, it's not like a one and done thing. This is a lifelong practice in really embodying these, in becoming these, in making these core tenets in your life, in staying aligned with purpose. And, what we consume, what we put in all levels, even most importantly, philosophically, ultimately is what we're going to get out of life. So really integrating these on a deep level can lead you to, just a life of so much more fulfillment, satisfaction, consciousness, and adventure than 99.9% of people, to be approximate and brash, will probably ever experience in their lives.
Yeah, man, I
So
agree.
yeah, that was basically, I guess, a summary of our thoughts on what it means to live authentically and be real AF. And like I mentioned at the start, if you want to go deeper into this and you really want to engage in 10 weeks of sincere and intentional work to transform your life, through adopting these principles and also a lot more that's available, Rise Above the Herd, the next round is open now. The dates for that round are October 15th to December 23. The doors are going to close on October 15th, and there's 12 spots available. If you're interested, you can apply for one of those spots at riseabovetheherd.co, and you can learn a lot more about the program on the landing page as well. We'll put that link in the brief along with the Real AF test. And thanks for listening. Thanks for being here for the truth.
Smoking mirrors, I'm seeing through the illusion. Waking up in a time, they think you're in a delusion. Somebody set the alarms, cause they be too busy snoozing. I'm in a DeLorean, fast forward and never